Grand Rising, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. So I think it's important right now to talk about shadow work because I do understand that there are people that do not understand exactly what shadow work is and the importance of shadow work in this journey that you're doing, because if you don't do the shadow work, it's really not you're really missing stuff. So what shadow work is that's the work that you have to do within yourself, like the deep inner work of the questions you have to ask yourself that actually inspires and gets this whole thing really set ablaze. What does that mean? You have to ask yourself, why is it that you feel the way you do in the situation that you in? Like, why do you feel like you're fed up? What are you fed up about? Why are you fed up about it? What is it about you that you feel like you really want to change? Why? Why do you want to change that? I was speaking with someone the other day, and the question came up in a conversation. It was in the conversation that we had, and then Spirit gave me the question, and it's a question that I'm opposed to you. Why are you being your own bully? And if the first answer you give is I'm not being my own bully, see, you're not even supposed to be able to give an answer right away. This is supposed to take thought. Well, I'm not being my own bully, are you? There are things that every person needs to work on in order for them to grow. There are things that we are beating our own self up about that is keeping our own self down. And understand that a bully isn't bullying a person just for one reason alone. And it's not even always the person that they're bullying. That bully has issues too. So you have to ask yourself, why are you bullying yourself? It's multi layers to the question. Why are you being a bully to yourself? Why do you feel the need to do things to essentially put yourself back? If you're just trying to make it for, there's a difference between surviving and living. So if you're just trying to make it right now and do what you got to do to what? To survive? Or are you doing what you got to do to live? No one says I'm doing what I got to do to live. Everyone says I'm doing what I'm trying to do to survive. When you move through your everyday, you are living. When you are living, you are living for something more than what you are now, even though you're not missing out on what now is affording you. The hardest thing that you're going to do in this journey is your shadow work, because your shadow work is building the foundation on everything that you need to do. Every building, every house needs to have a strong foundation, right? So What you need to do is build that strong foundation in order to build your house on. This shadow work, every person that I've talked to that has done this shadow work, that is doing this shadow work, what happens is you are tearing something down. And it's going to feel like you're tearing yourself down. Is that what you're doing? I'm going to be totally honest with you, yes. You are tearing yourself down. But you're not tearing yourself down in a negative way. What you're doing is the you that you are tearing down is the you that was holding the best part of you down. You're facing these things and you're asking these things, really, why are you making me feel this way? You're literally asking yourself, why am I feeling this way? It's when you are doing it right, it's levels of self-discovery that will lead you to forgiveness, that'll lead you to things within yourself that you know you need to change. Because sometimes, as much as you hate to admit it, some people were right when they said that you were an asshole. Some people were right when they said that you were a bitch. Some people were right when they said that your inability to speak up is what kept opportunities from you. Things of that nature. Or maybe something else, but it's something along those lines. It's things that you have to understand that within yourself, these are things you have to grow on. These are things you need to grow. These are things that were holding you back. These were things that altered and made decisions in your mindset that you didn't even know was being made for you. Like, part of my shadow work was I had to ask myself, why did I have low self-esteem? Like, that is, and if you've ever had low self-esteem, or if you have low self-esteem, see, you seem to think that it's a surface thing, but when you start, it's layers. That's why I keep saying everything is layers. When you start to go up at the surface, well, this is why I have low self-esteem. Okay, well, why is this? Even though we know that this is the reason why you have low self-esteem, well, why is that? Okay, well, why is that? What you're doing is asking questions within the answers that you are receiving within yourself. You're getting to the root of the problem instead of letting the problem fester or just sit there for something else to give it life that you don't even know is giving it life. When you acknowledge something, you have taken control of the situation. I believe you are responsible for what you know. So if you know that, like, okay, part of my low self-esteem was that I was a bigger girl. Always was. So, like, I went to my senior prom, I was about 300 pounds. So I had low self-esteem, and then I had to ask myself, okay, why did I have low self-esteem? I had low self-esteem because I was fat. Well, how come I was fat? I had to go and break down all the details and see, and this is the biggest part of shadow work. Shadow work is not a blame game. Shadow work is taking responsibility in each one of these things, which is where you are at. Now, I understand some things are just the environment you are in. But if there is something in that you can control, like your thinking in that environment, take responsibility for that. Don't leave a crack in the cement of your foundation. Don't do that. Shadow work has made people angry because there are things that they've had to come to terms with that they didn't have to come to terms with. But if you do not get angry about something along this journey you are on, something's wrong. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Anger gets shit done. And it can be good or bad, but anger gets shit done. It happens in the mind. Some people get angry and clean. Some people get angry and exercise, but anger gets shit done. They produce good thoughts. They produce bad thoughts. They let you sit down and think, okay, why is this making me angry? What can be done about this? Why do I feel anger gets shit done? Please don't underestimate that. Anger has changed the course of history. The work that you do in that shadow work, and it's called shadow work because the shadow is what's from the darkness. It's what's happening in the blackness. It's not right where the shadow is. I mean, it's not right there where the light is. It's right at the cusp of the darkness. And seeing what that shadow work is, it's using the light to open windows, to open the shade, to shed some light. That's what that light is supposed to do. Shed light on the things that you're supposed to be working on, that's supposed to help you move along your way, so that way you can get there. There has to be some kind of chaos. There has to be some kind of demolition. You can build on what's going now without shadow work. Yes, I am not saying that you cannot. You most certainly can. But understand that a house built on an unstable foundation is eventually going to crumble way, way, way faster than one that was built on a foundation that is solid and has taken more time to make sure that the thickness and the depth and everything is right. The shadow work allows you to find where you need to work on the most with yourself. The shadow work also lets you know the people who are actually going to end up not being on the next walk with you. Shadow work is accepting that there is work that needs to be done within yourself. You can't be arrogant and say, I don't need to do no shadow work. Every person that is advanced anywhere along in their life has done shadow work. Inner self-reflection, whatever they want to call it. It's called shadow work, because what they did was sit deep within themselves and find out what it was within themselves that was making them procrastinate, that was holding themselves back. What is it that they need to work on to change what it was that they needed to change to get what it is that they wanted to get? And shadow work is the hardest thing because you have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to be honest with anybody else that you talk to on this mortal plane, but you have to be honest with yourself when you do the shadow work. You have to face these things in order to get past these things. And as you grow along your journey, understand that shadow work is never really truly done, but the bulk of the shadow work is done in the beginning. That's how you catapult yourself. That's how you set that gasoline to the fire to get everything going, because at least it gives you some kind of semblance on which way to go and where to start. Because in the midst of the shadow work, you're going to just start knowing what to do. Your intuition is going to start speaking to you. The universe is going to start speaking to you. And you'll know it's happening because things are going to start feeling a little bit different. And it's okay to not be used to what you were once used to. That's okay. That's change. You don't have to like the same thing all the time. You can grow out of things. You do not have to like the same thing all the time. The same drink does not have to taste good to you when you reached a certain level. You could have drank Kool-Aid all your life and then one day realize that Kool-Aid is entirely way too sweet. And you put the right amount of sugar in it. You ain't putting the extra. You put the right amount of sugar in it. And then you try and make Kool-Aid again. You don't put as much sugar in it, but it's still too sweet. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with for you to want something other than what you once had. Because in order for you to get what you haven't gotten, you have to do more than what you're doing. It's a gradual change up. You're just not going to go from getting what you want from what you had without thinking that you have to let go of what you have. It's a process. It's growth. It's a major part in its work that you have, and there's no time frame on shadow work. There is no time frame. How do you do shadow work? Sit down and see. If it's hard for you to meditate, the shadow work is a good place to help meditate because you're asking yourself these questions. Whatever it is that's giving you that's running through your mind and giving you thoughts or giving you some kind of tension or anxiety or making you feel pressure in some kind of way, and you get to try and meditate, ask yourself, why am I thinking about this question? Or why am I thinking about this situation? Dissect it. Dissect the question. Dissect the situation. Dissect the thought that you're having that's keeping you from focusing on manifesting something more. Because believe it or not, when you are dissecting what is in your mind, you are actually clearing the path. And you are going towards something more because you're getting a blockage out of the way. The shadow work is getting blockages out of the way. You want to grow and you want to find a good place for you to start. The shadow work is a great, excellent, and the best place to start. If you don't believe in yourself, you have to dissect why you don't believe in yourself. You have to answer these questions now. You can't just give yourself the answer that you normally would give yourself and think that that's okay. You now have to dissect, ask questions to the questions to the question until you get an answer. And believe it or not, if the ultimate answer is, well, I really don't know why I feel that way, you would be surprised the relief that is released off of you when you get to the root of something that has truly been bothering you, and you ask yourself, why do you feel this way? What is making you feel this way? And the answer is, I really don't know why I feel this way. That is it's like a link off of the chain that's been holding you down being broken off. It's clearing out the rubble from the demolition, or it's clearing out the path so that way when the demolition really starts coming down, it's got a path to get out. Because as you're doing this, what you're doing is you're making spiritual deposits. You're letting the universe know that you are willing to get back to your natural, purest form in the best way that you can, so that way you can move forward in this knowing, because you're responsible for what you know. So now that you know that these are areas you need to work on, and you work on those areas, you're making these deposits in your spiritual bank, and makes it easier for the teller to let you get these withdrawals. You don't have to go to the bank anymore. You see what I'm saying? It's all about the small steps. It does not have to be big things, but your shadow work is a huge thing. But understand that as it happens, you don't have to ask yourself the big questions first. You can start with a small one. Why are you bullying yourself? Why do you feel that nobody wants to talk to you? Why do you feel that your smile isn't pretty? Why do you feel like you'll never get a girl? Why do you feel like this is the only place you'll ever be in life? Why do you feel like only bad things are going to happen to you? Why do you feel that way? Okay, that's a good answer. Now, why do you feel like that? That answer that you just gave, why do you feel like that? And see, in the shadow work, I used to always think that journaling was, you have to sit down and you have to write something specific for that particular day. See, journaling is done in a couple of different ways, and I'm learning. In your shadow work, as you're starting to ask yourself these questions, when you write these things down, you're releasing them. The journaling helps you to release things as well as put things forth. It's all about the intention. When you're doing the shadow work to pull these things out of yourself and you're putting them onto the paper, you're telling these things that they don't control you anymore, because now you have grabbed hold of that. And you've controlled it. By now you have put it into words, and what you do with those words is up to you. I've burned some of the things that I've done shadow work on, because that's what Spirit has led me to do. Different rituals that I've done. And I am extremely, extremely proud of the shadow work that I have done. Because if I did not do the shadow work within myself, there would be no way that you would be hearing my voice right now. If if I wasn't able to do the shadow work within myself, I would not be able to sit here and say with 100% confidence that I would not have been able to change the lives that I have changed. And I know that I have changed lives with 100% certainty. And I know that those lives that I've changed are changing lives because I've seen it happen. And they're telling me things that have happened in their lives. It's all a process. Throwing the rock into the pond and causing a ripple. The shadow work is what's going to hurt the most. It's what's going to hurt the most because you have to be honest with yourself. It's okay to cry, because when I say that you have to be more honest with yourself than you have ever been to anyone or anything ever in your life. These are literally deep-seated things that you have got to do to tell yourself, okay, this is where my issue lies. Because as you do that, you're growing and you're laying foundation in the soil for the home. You're drawing up the blueprint. You're getting the walls up. You see what I'm saying? You got the windows in place. You're putting the roof on. The shadow work is everything the shadow work is everything that you do to make sure that these steps along your journey are placed in a solid place. It is going to tear you down because you have to face the truth within yourself. Shadow work is different for everybody, but it's something that everybody needs to do if they're really willing and serious about going on the next journey in their life and knowing that there's more to life than this. I thank you for listening. I really appreciate you. I do. Thank you for liking. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. I hope this helped you along the way. Peace.